Hello again. This is part 4 of painting dungeon tiles. Here's one we painted in part 3 with the light grey. There, there and there. I was going to paint this side as well again, so they match. So I'm going to paint these two tiles here, this one here, and these two tiles here in XF22. Tamiya paints again. So that's what I'm going to go and do now. Give that a shake. And there we are. Yeah. The 4 tiles I was going to paint. I actually might paint this one here as well. There we are. There is the tiles painted in Tamiya XF22. Now I've painted that side, I now have to paint this side. But they must match. So as you see, I've painted these 2 tiles here. I've got to paint these 2 tiles here. And you see, there we are. I'm painting the tiles. I'm also painting this part as well. There's no point in painting this and forgetting to do that, because that would just be silly. And don't forget the edge as well, because it completes the 3-dimensional look of your tiles. And there we are. Painted one side, painted the other side. And the colours match. This side is green, that side is green. You're not painting a Mona Lisa, so if you're a little bit rough, it adds to the authenticity of your dungeon walls. Because remember, these walls might have been around for centuries before your adventurers found it. And so they're mostly not in a good state of repair. So the more rough you are, but don't be too rough though, the more rough you are with your painting, the more authentic it looks that it's a bit of a run-down dungeon. Because if it's brand new, your adventurers wouldn't be able to go in it because it'd be full of people. That's why it's an adventure, because they've found a mysterious place where there might be treasure, or even an artifact that they might be trying to find. Because maybe they're finding the glove of Atheron, which gives a person mystic ability. Or maybe the Eye of Cthulhu. Or whatever your adventurers are finding. Some artifact, maybe a treasure. Or maybe even finding another character to add to their team. So they have the benefit of playing multiple characters. And there we are. It's done now, it's finished. All I've got to do now is sand the bottom off so it's nice and smooth. And there we are. Leave it to dry now. Simple. Now I'm going to show you what dry brushing is. Because I said you can paint your tiles like I have done, or you can paint your tiles using what's called a dry brush. I have a little brush here that I've flattened the top off, right? Because it should look like that, but I've cut it flat. I have a simple plate. Not the best china, because if you use the best china, the missus might get a little bit funny. Especially if you use her best china to put paint on it. Right. And here is the colour I'm going to use for dry brushing. It's a grey. Right. Artist paints. Again, it's acrylic. Right. Open it up. Squirt a little bit on the plate. You need a little bit. And now I have some tissue. Right. Because we're going to do a dry brush. And here is the brush. As you can see, it's got loaded with paint. Right. But I don't want that. I want to take some off. So I dab it on a piece of kitchen towel, removing most of the paint. As you can see. Right. I then get the tile and I dry brush. And there we are. It's been dry brushed. Simple. A few seconds, done. Now you can use, I've only used one colour, which is a very light grey. Now I suggest if you're going to do dry brushing, you start with a base colour of a dark grey. And then build up different colours so it makes a more natural effect. But I'm showing you that's a quick dry brush. A few seconds, so remember you might have 50, 60, 70, maybe 100 tiles to do. And if you painted it that way, it would take a little bit of time. Now I'm going to show you, if you don't do the dry brushing correctly, what can happen. I've loaded the paintbrush and I haven't dabbed it properly. I haven't taken off a lot of the paint. Now I'm going to try and do this again with a bit too much paint. That's what happens if you don't take off enough paint. It's not much of a dry brush, more like a wet squidge. As you can see, that's dry brushing properly. Right. See there? That's the edge. Dry brushing properly. Sorry, dry brushing properly. That's not dry brushing properly. As you can see, it just looks like a mess. Dry brushing correctly with a very little paint on the brush, just catching it in places, making it look random. Right? That's dry brushing with a paintbrush that's too wet. Not very good. And the edge has been dry brushed as well. So you can see I've caught some of the high parts, some of the highlights, and of course I've used a very light grey to do it. I've used a very light grey. And I've only shown you an example what to do with the dry brush. Right. Now, if you pinch the tiles with PLA black, right? See, it's PLA black. You can do that to almost all of your tiles. We've said just two colours, a dark grey and a light grey. The light grey would catch the highlights, and the dark grey would be the base coat. Sit down. Sit down. All right. And that's how you would do it. And that's a dry brush. So that's painting it this way, which does take time. And you might have 100 tiles to do just of the wall tiles. Where this way, dry brushing takes a few seconds. Dab the brush in paint, dab it off, squidge, 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 done. And the quicker you are, the better it looks. Don't get in my way again. You understand me? So I say so. Now, here is a tile that I painted using the way that I'm doing it. I'm going to show you what happens when you do a dry brush on this. There we are. There is a dry brush on that base colour that I've done the other way. Right. So that's a tile painting with 3 colours: a base dark grey, a light grey, and a greenish colour, or with a greenish cast to it anyway. Then over that is a light dry brush. As you can see, it looks very good. Now, this is a dry brush on just a plain black PLA. Too much, just right. Too much, just right. On a painted tile, just enough, just to touch it in places. Right? Even drier than I did with this side. So this was a little bit more wetter than I used it for here, right? But still not as wet as that. As you can see, it looks very good. It's caught all the various parts of the tile, made it highlights. But of course, if that's what you want to do, then fine, you can do it that way. But that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to wipe this off in a little while. So I'm going to leave my tiles like this. Right? That I like. It's not bad, but it's not what I want to do. Right? But if that's what you want to do with your system, with your tiles, then you're perfectly able to do this with your tiles. Right? And that is dry brushing. Right? With a paintbrush that's been squared off. And that's it. And that is part 4 of painting dungeon tiles. Enjoy!